All right, it's the 10th day in the month of July 2024. It's another beautiful Wednesday, a Wednesday that I would like to call the Winning Wednesday. And it's my pleasure to welcome you onto today's segment from the Daily Zone AM Update on Solutions 93.9 FM. My name is AYODEJI LAFENWA, and together with my comrade AYODEJI AJISOPE. This morning, a beautiful morning to you.
A beautiful, cool Wednesday morning here in the sprawling city of Ibadan.
All right, together we'll be taking you through some stories and some of today's national dailies, and of course we shall be running analysis on some of these trending issues. You can be a part of the program by calling the numbers, the studio line 0909-888-9939, 0909-888-9939, or 0912-222-2939, 0912-222-2939. And you can as well join us, drop your comment on our Facebook page, Solutions 939 FM. This beautiful Wednesday morning, I've got 4 newspapers to look at, to go through this morning. And looking at the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, I have this one saying, Tinubu kicks off reform. Development of livestock sector creates ministry. To name minister soon, Jega replaces Ganduje as Reform Implementation Committee Chairman. That story is found on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune. Only 3 of 22 airports viable, others subsidized. FAAN, that story is found on page 5. NDLEA arrests wanted drug baron in village mansion, recovers meth and guns. Okay, Orasaye report. Follow due process. Senators tell FG oppose scrapping of video censors board. Want laws establishing merged MDAs reviewed. SANU NASU members stage nationwide protest over withheld salaries. Protest rocks Ondo as farmers kick against alleged sale of farmlands. Police to charge man who climbed 122-feet mast with attempted suicide. And I mean, when I saw this story yesterday, I was like, a man wanted to commit suicide, wanted to end it all.
Yeah.
Should the next thing be for him to be arrested and prosecuted? Shouldn't there be a kind of a rehabilitation where is a mental illness or the state of his mind should be addressed before? I mean,
you see, in this part, we do not take mental health issues.
A man that was fed up, a man climbed 120 feet high mast to jump down with the intention to jump down and end it all. And the next thing was for him to be arrested by the police, and now they're trying to prosecute him.
You see, we do not take mental health issues seriously at all. Not even seriously. We don't,
in this part of the world, right?
No, we don't. No, we don't. You know, anybody that has mental health issues, we either disclaim them or we just don't pay attention to them. So, and we just hide under. It's a cultural thing. It's just like we don't pay attention to our health until people, become immobile or just drop dead. So that's the challenge that we have. But of course, the fact remains that the man breached extant laws. And that's what the police, the one they call the least line of defense, that's what the police are going for.
Okay, let's move away from that. On the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, scarcity, fuel shortage, queues worsen in Lagos, Abuja, others. NNPC seeks $2 billion oil-backed facility to finance operations. Tinubu creates Ministry of Livestock Development. Ministry can end herders farmers clashes, banditry. Arewa Economic Forum saying that story is found on page 4. Withheld salaries, SANU NASU cripple nations' universities. And looking at the biggest story on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper this Wednesday morning, I see this one saying 400 billion naira oil production shortfall threatens 2024 budget. Moving away from that, hunger, Nigerians losing patience. Senate tells Tinubu. That story is found on page 4. Suspends Samoa Agreement implementation, reps tell FG. NPAN calls for release of abducted journalist. Moving away from the Vanguard newspaper, let's take a look at the Punch newspaper. NEF demands grazing reserves as Tinubu plans livestock ministry. Blackout. NERC rolls out tough sanctions against discos. 19 Nigerian airports not viable. FAAN. And to the biggest story on the front page of the Punch newspaper, I see this one saying, fuel crisis lingers as NNPC seeks fresh $2 billion crude-backed loan. And riders under that, NNPC in talks for another oil-backed loan to boost its finances, says Kyari. Oil firm wants new loan against 30,000 to 35,000 barrels per day of crude production. Away from that, Nigerian drug baron flees South Africa, arrested in Imo mansion. And the pictures can be seen on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Court orders forfeiture of NIMASA funds diverted under Jonathan government. Rescue abducted Kaduna journalist families. NPAN tells FG. And the last one I'll be taking from the front page of the Punch newspaper says, how Emefiele awarded CBN contract to own companies. Witness. And starting from that Emefiele story on the front page of the Nation newspaper, how Emefiele moved millions. Yes. I woke up to the news of Ministry of Livestock Development being created by the federal government. And I remember vividly during my days in primary, secondary school, I mean, we had agricultural science.
Yeah.
And an aspect of agricultural science is livestock farming.
Yeah.
We've always had Ministry of Agriculture, Federal Ministry of Agriculture. Now, why did they have to create livestock ministry? Bringing it out of the existing Ministry of Agriculture that we had. Is there any need for that? Creating Ministry of Livestock on its own?
Maybe not. But the bottom line, we have to admit that. And you see, the issue of livestock, especially cattle rearing and raising in Nigeria, has become a problem. And it has been a problem over the ages. Somehow, we have managed, It is nothing new. You remember in 2001 or 2, Muhammadu Buhari came here, to see the former governor, late Lamadeshina. It was over the issue of farmer-herders clashes. It has always been there. The herders want to graze, and don't forget the issue of climate change is aggravating this issue. I remember growing up as a young guy, where I come from, there were what you actually could call grazing routes right by our house, There was a grazing route. But of course, by the 1970s, we didn't see those cows and we didn't see those cattle again. You understand? Now, livestock comprises not just of cattle, sheep, goats, poultry, and quail, and all of these things. A lot of money can be made from there. I think yesterday we were talking about milk production in Nigeria. All the milk, except the ones we get from the Fulani women, they are imported as finished. They are finished product. All we do here is packaging, just like in the pharmaceuticals. That is not good. Some people are producing it. Now, why don't we have milk produced in Nigeria? What do they call them? The one in Ikeja, Ikeja Industrial Estate. They've been there for more than 70 years. Yet they still import wholesale. All we do here is packaging. That is not good. Now, do we need a whole ministry?
That was I was going to ask you because
Do
livestock had been a part of the Ministry of Agriculture.
we need a whole ministry?
Because we keep saying that Nigeria is not rich, we are poor, we don't have enough money, but now creating an entirely new ministry, it's just like creating a Ministry of Tertiary Education when we already have Ministry of Education.
Yes, I got you there. But you see, it is political. It is political.
Political in what sense?
Political in the sense that, this issue came up, the great issue of grazing. If we're going to resolve a major factor in farmer-herders clashes that has to do with food security, that affects our food security, that has to be resolved. It has to be resolved. It has to be resolved. And when it is resolved, you restrict, you do ranching, you get better products. We can now start talking seriously about milk production. And then the import, let those who want to live, like that. Yes, they can live. They can live on those ranches. Those ranches can be kilometers, several kilometers wide. You understand? And then they can live better. Look, you are walking from Futajalon Island to Lagos, to Ibadan, to Ilorin. For God's sake, those animals don't get proper care. Even when they put them in trucks from Kano to Lagos, you see how they look. Standing from Lagos to Kano, how many days?
But they will tell you that it has been a generational
I got you there.
That moving from one place to another has been the generational thing.
People evolve to suit the times. You got to be dynamic. You got to be dynamic. Times have changed. We have, how many people do we have in Nigeria in 1960? Maybe 50 million or that about. We have 200 million plus now. So it is no longer a realistic option, and it is a political problem. You saw what happened in the Senate the other day, and the president of the Senate was saying,
when the senator was quoting the fact that
when you say people have rights to move around and inhabit any part of the country, yes, you do. But your right ends where my own begin. And then they start applying sentiments. And when people say, our people, we know that they are deploying these things for political ends. So, you will put those people who are involved in charge. Let them devise a means and way of, look, there is a lot of money to be made from livestock. I can tell you that. Not just cattle. If we start producing our own milk here, you know that I told you the day or so before that I grew up in this town, and not just this town. Ministry of Agric used to have, they call them kiosks, M-A-N-R, green kiosk, fresh milk every day from that place that is Kolapo Ishola and Carlton Gate Estate now. You understand? What they were doing, I think the former governor of Ekiti tried it. They brought this species of cattle in from Brazil, I think. So this is what we have to do. We have to work smart. It is not smart. It is not smart in 2024. We are not making the best. We have to, after all, if it is an economic activity, it is a lifestyle, but it's also an economic activity and a store of value. You understand? You can work smarter than that. We can't be doing things like we did it 50, 70, 100 years ago. That's not living smart.
I really understand your point now, saying that the creation of the Ministry of Livestock Development is a bid to at least to address all these things you've mentioned.
It is both political and economic.
But it's believed in some quarters that this creation of a Ministry of Livestock Development might have a political undertone, in the sense that, is it not that the federal government is trying to massage the ego of a group of people?
Well, it's a double-edged sword. Ego massaging, resolving a political problem, but turning it into an economic cash cow in the process. You understand? It's like using the Yorubas using one stone to kill two birds. You resolve a political, a political security logjam, and then turning it into an economic advantage. It's a win-win situation. It's a win-win situation. They will just extract, the livestock, you understand, and expand it. And of course, they're going to put, oh, look, it's a win-win situation. If that's going to be a resolution, look at it. I saw a video clip the other day. Those herders, you just invade farms. You know, a whole cassava farm, they will just eat it up. A whole maize farm, they will just eat it up. You know, I mean, if there's a resolution, when we say there is a security issue concerning food security, that is the issue. There's no other issue than in this part. There is no insurgency here. There's no terrorism here. You understand? There is kidnapping, but it does not occur. The kidnappings go on the highway, not on the farms. So insurgency is not here. So what we have is insecurity that we have here on the farms is about farmer-herders clash. If that is resolved from the middle belt, and it is not in the middle belt alone, I tell you, it is also in the northwestern part of this country.
Okay, let's move away from that particular story. Let's go to the oil sector now. I mean, it's in the news this morning that NNPC is seeking additional $2 billion loan to finance its operations. And I want us to link into this story on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper saying that 400 billion naira oil production shortfall threatens 2024 budget. That means we have not been able to live up to the production as regards lifting of crude oil as to meet up with the 2024 budget.
Yes, our OPEC quota is 1.5 million barrels per day. Apparently, we have not been doing that. That's why we have a shortfall of 400, and that's just for the first 5 months of the year. And if we have a shortfall of 5 billion in 5 months, you can wrap it up
400 billion
or 400 billion. You can just wrap it up 5 months, 10 months, and 12 months. You can wrap it up to 1 trillion naira shortfall. That is a huge one when you consider what our budget is for the year. But what are we doing? This is not just the first one. They did one as soon as they came in, 3-point-something billion. And of course, we are told, our people are suggesting that most of that was used in defending, so to say, the naira. Look, NNPC, that's swapping 35,000 or so barrels per day production. If you say 35,000 barrels per day production, why are we having a shortfall in production? This same Miliki a few days ago said they had declared a state of emergency in production. Are we sure we are not producing enough if we have 400,000 barrels being stolen? According to Miliki and the former minister, they went to Uzodimma, governor of Imo, and opened their mouths on TV and said under their watch 400,000 barrels was being stolen. Okay, when this administration came in at the federal level, we were hearing cargo of crude seized. Are you hearing anything anymore? We don't hear anymore. And we have not been told that it has stopped yet. We don't hear anymore.
I was going to say maybe it has stopped.
No, I don't think so. I think there was just a game. You see, there will be a change of guard, and then some noise making, and then what do they call it? Business as usual goes on. Lucrative, they call it. Lucrative posting. That's what they call the entire South. What do they call that? Niger Delta. For all security, everybody in security in this country, any aspect of security, the South is tagged lucrative. What does that mean? Or the one they call juicy. What does that mean?
But now that the NNPC is asking for more loans, I mean, like $2 billion loan to at least to finance the operations.
They are now pledging our crude.
And this is the same NNPC that there have been allegations against of not being prudent in their spending over the years.
Thankfully now, NNPC no longer receives receipts of crude sold. This one will, NNPC is doing it, but the receipt will be credited to the Central Bank of Nigeria. As we speak, nobody knows how much crude is being lifted. There are no records anywhere. Look, I'm a regulator. Okay, let's say our radio station, that's a regulatory agency, the NCC, right? NBC, rather. I am coming to perform my statutory functions. You come and pick me in my office. I don't have mobility. You provide transport for me. I come here. you provide everything that I need to do my job of regulation. Look, when the supervisor, they used to be DPR, they have another name now, midstream and downstream regulatory agency. They are coming to your rig to supervise, to oversight. You provide transport, helicopter, you provide them chopper. They don't have chopper, then you host them. They're not supposed to spend the night there. You host them on your rig. What supervising are they doing? Of course, it's like the National Assembly going on oversight to a highway construction site. They don't have engineers in the committee. They don't have civil engineers. They don't have quantity surveyors. They just come and stand arm akimbo. What are they oversighting? Do they have the expertise? You are going to supervise. You are going to oversight. You don't have expertise. What oversight are you going to carry out? You are going to a rig to go and see what they're doing there. They provide you chopper. They feed you, and they host you.
They accommodate you, yeah.
And they accommodate you. So that is just it. I think everything is just organized against the interests of Nigeria. I remember Moshood Kashima Wolawale when he was contesting. He said the transactions ongoing in NNPC way back in 1992-93 was as opaque as the crude that they deal in. And if you know how crude looks, you will know that is messy.
Okay, but it's still on the front page of a Punch newspaper saying fuel crisis lingers as a result of all this.
Fuel crisis lingers. NNPC is the sole importer of products. And if the NNPC said there was flooding, I don't understand that. NNPC claimed that there was flooding of its facilities. And I said, how do you offload? You offload, you connect. They offload at Atlas Cove. This is something I have seen. They will do, those big vessels cannot come to Atlas Cove to discharge. They go and take the smaller vessels, will go and meet those huge vessels on the high seas, and take off, products from there. And they can come into Atlas Cove, because they cannot berth at Atlas. I mean, that's shallow waters for those huge, tankers. So they come and discharge. So they said there was flooding, but they ended up saying there was a gap. Of course, when there's a gap, then you're not continuously 24/7 offloading and discharging. That will create a gap. So that is the gap that they're talking about. But thank God, it is not tough on us in Ibadan yet, is it? It is not tough on us in Ibadan yet. I think it's Abuja. And then consider the fact that we are transporting products from Lagos to Kauna, Bramuda, to Sokoto, to Unguru by road. That is ridiculous. We have pipelines. Non-functional pipelines. Non-functional pipelines. And how can we in 2024 go and take products from Lagos and drive it to Abuja? There will always be a differential.
I was asking you a question yesterday on the program. I mean, we have non-functional refineries, apart from Dangote,
non-functional depots.
Non-functional depots.
Non-functional
pipelines. I mean, what?
And there are subsidiaries for those.
What will it cost the government to get these things working? Or are there, they've said that maybe there are cabals making sure these things are not working because for their own personal gains. Yeah. But are these cabals unsurmountable? For how long will Nigeria as a country have to go through this?
If Dangote, an institution himself in Nigeria, has to cry out that what Dangote is saying is that they are trying to sabotage. Because at the end of the day, if he does not get crude from Nigeria, I ask, when NNPC refineries were operational, where were they getting crude from? Where? They were getting crude from Nigeria. The crude that you use locally is not a part of your OPEC quota. You understand? Your local production is not a part of your OPEC quota. You can as well get OPEC quota of 1.5 million and use and produce 3 million barrels for your local production. You understand? That local production, you can still export it. It is that same cabal. If Dangote gets crude locally, you understand? The cost of freight, the cost of insurance, the cost of whatever, all the other costs will be out of it. And it will impact the cost of production and of course the retail price. which will be maybe most certainly lower than the cost of imported products. If it is lower than the cost of imported products, the owners of tank farm are going to be out of business. And tank farm owners are powerful elements now.
Powerful individuals.
Look, there will be no need now. What are you using tank farm for? They will be lifting directly. They will be lifting directly from Dangote refineries. They will be lifting. There will be no need for tank farms. And what about their billions, tens of billions of investment? You know how many tank farms are in Lagos now? Then what will happen to their investment? If people now load directly at Dangote refinery, what will happen to them? They will just form a group to ensure that it does not happen.
Okay, still talking about regulation and regulatory bodies. We have this one coming from the power sector now. Blackout. NERC rolls out tough sanctions against the distribution companies. Now, rolling out tough sanctions, and we've said it on this program before, that is Nigeria producing enough power to go round to be distributed by the discos before the sanctions by the regulatory body is being put in place?
Even if we produce, which we don't, enough power, what about the willing, the one they call transmission, the transmission capacity? Nigeria's installed capacity for generation is certainly higher than the capacity to wheel. The national grid cannot wheel 5,500 megawatts. It cannot. There was a time I remember we were generating rather, maybe about 7,000, 8,000 megawatts. But we have a grid that cannot wheel at any point in time 5,500 megawatts. What are we doing with a national grid? And the strange thing for me is that the way the Minister of Power is going, is still talking national. He's still talking national grid, everything national. Is that the focus now? We are trying to decentralize. We are trying to unbundle. That is why we have discourse, you know, in regions, in geopolitical zones. You understand? IBDEC, Edo, Eco has two. You understand? Because of the capacity. Now, why is it not encouraging states or geopolitical zones? If states cannot do it, you understand? Let geopolitical zones, you know, come together and do. Like I told you. Must it be hydro? Must it be hydro alone? Must it be thermal? Must it be what you want gas alone? Enugu is there. LA here, like I said, I've said repeatedly, power was being generated from LA with coal, and it is all over the place like that. Just had a power generating plant. So why are we talking national? And engineers have told me that I've worked with, it used to be NEPA, PHCN and all of that. Now what we do is radial transmission. They say it is in a straight line. If power is generated at Kainji and being wheeled down to Ibadan, if there is a break, you understand, in the processes of wheeling that power will not go beyond that location. No backup. No, you know, that you can bypass and then run around and then go after behind that fault and continue your transmission. Nothing. Straight line transmission. So if there's a breakdown, everything else after that location breaks down. Does that look tidy for business? Does that look tidy for even national security? It doesn't look tidy. But I find it very strange that the honorable minister and everybody they're talking national. I don't understand.
Okay, let's move to another issue now. It's 6 minutes past 10. Still on AM Update on Solutions 93.9 FM. And looking at this particular story on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, it says, hunger, Nigerians losing patience. Senate tells Tinubu.
The senators are telling Tinubu, maybe they're the representative of the people. They are actually the people, they should get it into their heads. They are the representative of the people. Yes, Tinubu was voted for as an individual, as president. But it is the members of the National Assembly. That's why they are called National Assembly. Representatives. The other ones too that are, you see, proportional representation, that's why we have the House of Reps. And then equality of all federating units. That is what Senate represents. That's why you have 3 from each, irrespective of size, population, and whatever. So they should get it into their heads. They are the representatives of the
But people
what are they doing?
Some people are asking questions that this statement coming from the Senate, are they not just playing to the gallery because it's believed that these people are actually disconnected from the masses?
They are playing to the gallery. They are playing to the gallery.
But this statement saying that Nigerians are losing patience.
They are the ones, the money Tinubu as president spends, it is the National Assembly that appropriates. Tinubu will bring only a proposal. What this thing they say the president governor carries to the assembly is a proposal. It is a proposal. Proposed spending. It cannot be spent without
the approval
of the Senate. And the Senate and the House of Reps has the constitutional power to increase or reduce, which they usually do. And then on top of that, they now have powers given to them by the Constitution to say, okay, that 10 million that we say we should spend on tertiary education, how did you spend it? Give an account. They have that power. Give money and then check, are they doing it? That is the question. Are they doing it effectively as they ought to? But the people are ignorant. The people are ignorant and they do not understand. They look up to the president. The people are not even talking about the governor. Oh, you forget even about the local government chairman. They do not exist because the governors have taken over the role of the local government chairman. Everybody's talking Tinubu. As if Tinubu is the one that is in charge of the entire nation.
And you said there are people's representatives. I mean, how many of the senators are actually connecting with the members of their constituents?
Do they have platforms in which they feedback?
And some of them are not even accessible. If you ask average Nigerian on the street, who's your senator representing your constituent, they don't know. When last did you see the person in your vicinity?
An analyst once told us on radio like this. I said, do you know your chairman? I said, my chairman is relevant. I said, how can you say your chairman is relevant? The nearest level of governance closest to you
is the local
government. Because they have become irrelevant. They have actually become irrelevant. Because the resources that they are supposed to perform with has been hijacked, has been ambushed and appropriated by the states. We do hope that by the time the Supreme Court gives judgment in favor of the case that the Attorney General and the federal government has taken to the Supreme Court, regarding disbursement.
You feel the Supreme Court will give them a favor? Well, the judgment will be in their favor.
It is not only that they are supposed to get the allocations directly. The state is even supposed to add a percentage of its IGR
to that.
Exactly. That is the constitutional provision. And then all this dabbling into motor. Look, this morning I asked a transporter. I asked a tricycle. He collected 3 receipts. I said, please, how much do you pay? He said, this is for 400 naira. Tricycle this morning, not yesterday. He showed me receipts. I took photographs of them. I have them on my phone.
That he paid?
I have it on my phone.
Did you say this morning?
This morning.
3 receipts.
3 receipts, 400, amounting to 400 naira.
Just for today? Or maybe.
And that is not all. He said, that was from roundabout Mokola. He said if he stops at Dugbe to drop or pick one passenger, whether the passenger is 50 naira or 100 naira, he will pay 100 naira. He said at the end of the day, the tricycle, they pay nothing less than 1,700 naira. I'm talking about this morning. He said bikes pay lower than that, but the bikes are always engaging in scuffles and antics with those guys, because they can move swiftly and all of that. What do you call the other the sibling? 3 of them. The other one is Micra.
Siblings.
Yeah, they're siblings. Micra, bike, and tricycle. They pay the same. So imagine, those things are supposed to go to the local government. Tenement rate.
But it's being collected by the state government.
It is being collected, and who knows? Who knows how much is being collected? And do we know the number of Micra? Do we know the number of bikes? Do we know the number of tricycles in Ibadan alone?
And I'm sure many Nigerians don't even know that all this money being collected are supposed to go to the purses of the local government.
So who gets what? Who takes what? We don't know. When government start saying, we are giving you dividends of democracy, good governance, we don't want good governance. What we want is transparency. And if you are transparent, of course, people will say, you know, when why did this one go this way? Then accountability will say, when we put a transparency and accountability together, we get good governance. We don't want good governance. People should give us transparency. What is it? Is it a secret call? Why are you running government as a secret society? I mean, if nothing is happening, where do you hear governors receiving security votes? Yes, we know virtually all the states are financing the Nigerian police. That is why action should be expedited on that. So everybody be responsible for your own security. Look, when we have state police, everybody will know that this is ours. You understand? The problem with Nigeria is that people don't care. And why is it that people don't care? They don't have a sense of stakeholding. You generate your power. You fix your road. You provide water. So, what's the rule of governance? And the basic issue of government is securing lives and properties. Vigilante, don't you pay? Don't you pay? You don't pay for vigilante in your area.
But some people have some reservations concerning the issue of state police.
Why?
They feel that probably this state police will be used as tools against the enemies of the state by the governors.
The question is it happening now?
Because we don't have a state police for that.
Look at what Fubara said. The guy that was to detonate an IED report by the hospital that they were brought in. We didn't hear anything from the police.
But if the state police is being approved, is being put in place, wouldn't there be conflict of interest when you talk about state police and the federal police?
No, there are federal issues. There are issues that are in the purview. Federal offenses, you understand? Federal offenses.
Taking the one in Rivers State as an example now, you know, we heard what Fubara said yesterday, accusing the police, the federal police, saying that they are not doing enough, they are being silent on some cogent issues. Now, imagine if there was a state police in place in that state. Wouldn't there be a kind of conflict?
Does the crime fall under the purview of the state? You understand? If it falls, if the crime or the alleged crime falls under the purview of the state, then the state takes it over. And then when we are talking about restructuring in this country, people think what we need to do is administrative and political restructuring. It is way beyond that. The judiciary has... Look at what is happening. A federal high court will take a decision. A state high court will take a decision. The other party will run to a federal high court, depending on which party you belong to, depending on which side you belong to. If I belong to APC and I'm in Oyo State, I will run to the federal high court. You understand? And there are divisions of the federal high court. Look, the federal high courts originally were designed to deal with specific issues until, in quotes, liberalization of the whole idea came in. It is politics and politics everywhere. But the courts that are supposed to serve as, what do they call it, the last hope
of the common man,
is looking like the courts have joined the fray now. But I think it is the lawyers, the bar, and the bench that is to be blamed for all of that.
Okay, since we're still talking about hunger in the land and Nigerians crying, according to the Senate, let's link into the man that said that was depressed out of hunger and various debts that he had to pay, and he had to decide to climb a 120 feet mast with attempt.
What was he saying when he got there?
I think his intention was just to end it all.
So why didn't he end it all?
I think he was being apprehended according to the story.
At 120 feet? He came down by himself. No, I mean, well, you see, that man doesn't look stable. How will you 120? Can you climb the story building with a ladder? No. Are you likely to?
You know, some of us we have this phobia for height.
Even apart from
phobia for height.
So
there's a level I can go.
Part of your family.
That's true. That's true.
You know, 120 feet mast. Anything could have gone wrong. It could have fallen off. You understand? You know those masts. If you're climbing from outside, you just fall off one time. If you are climbing from inside, you just start dropping and you get broken up the body
into pieces.
You understand? Now, you successfully climb. Careful, it's easier climbing than coming down. That man is unstable. He's unstable. But they say they want to prosecute him for attempted suicide.
Attempted suicide.
Is that the first thing?
That's the
Have they
first
evaluated him? Doesn't that one require evaluation? That one requires evaluation. And if they evaluate that guy, believe you me, something pushed him. It is an extreme action to take. Something must have pushed the man.
Something like what?
Of course, it's circumstances. People are under pressure. Look, when I drive, I'm extra careful. When people shout at you, you want to hit me? Me, I don't respond. Because you just want to trigger. You just want to. Something is just covering the challenges on the surface. When you see people gaily dressed, like that, something is below the surface. So it's like a simmering volcano.
Like a time bomb waiting to.
Don't trigger them. Just look, people when they challenge you, just go your way. Just go your way. Don't respond. It is only under normal circumstances. It is not worth the energy dissipation. But now people are under pressure. People are under pressure. People are under pressure.
Under pressure.
People are under pressure.
Okay, let's move away as we wind down on the program this morning. The man Emefiele is in the news again. I mean, so many findings concerning this man. Some people will say, well, they are not really surprised. I mean, looking at this one on the front page of the Punch newspaper saying that how Emefiele awarded CBN contracts to own companies. Witness. And I want to join it with this one on the front page of the Nation newspaper saying that how Emefiele moved millions to wife by witness. This is a man that was appointed to oversee the CBN, one of the greatest institutions in the land, CBN. But some people will tell you that, okay, all those things are not surprising because this was a man that even his actions then spoke volumes of the kind of man he was off the camera. This was a man that was believed to have aspired to contest a presidential election. And some people will say, okay, we don't have to blame Godwin Emefiele, but we should have blamed the man who appointed him. When he started showing the signs that he was already derailing, and he should have been taken off that office.
When you make reference to that presidential bid, I think they already had branded vehicles.
Yes, I saw the clips. I saw branded, and these are not 500, they were over 1,000 vehicles.
When you think about such things,
Emefiele for president, a sitting CBN governor of the land.
When you see such things, you wonder whether we had a president who was a wall.
A wall. Absent without leave.
Look, in this Nigerian space, did he not read the newspaper? Did he not get briefings? What were they telling him? Apart from what he saw himself, you understand? Were they telling him that it was mere fabrication or it was mere optics? Look,
because it was in the news.
So how did he process it? When the president processed it, what were his conclusions? You understand? Because we have to go into the man's mind. We have to actually go into the man's mind. When you have information, you have to process it. So when the man processed it, this is a Emefiele. You have all the powers to investigate, deploy. Okay, you send them out. They give you feedback. So even if they told you that it was fabrication, okay, how did the president process it? And what conclusions did he come to for him to have retained Emefiele? You know, there was a time Emefiele traveled for one conference. DSS wanted to arrest Emefiele. And Emefiele was escorted back into town and guarded by the military. I mean, where did Emefiele get military troops? You understand? Brigade of Guards or what?
And one of the allegations we've had concerning Emefiele is forgery of signature of the
Yes.
president.
Well, you see, I had parents who were public servants, especially my father who held public office, and I knew the resources that was available to him that he could have, did whatever he wanted. In fact, I remember that they were supplied, the institution they headed was supplied with stuff they did not need. And they wanted to return some of this. They said, no, you cannot return us. Where are you going to return us? Where are you going to keep it? Just equal. Let me give you an instance. They supplied his coal with machines, tabletop, and the ones you do electric and all of that. Hundreds of it, and I'm talking about 76, 77. Hundreds of that stuff. And so many other things. And of course, funding. Now, and I remember that NYSC camp used to hold in that institution. It used to be Baptist College, it's Bowen now. One of the guys that was jailed, following shot killer, he was the head of administration. My father shared some of these things. He came to this, let's inflate figures. Because it was the kitchen of my father's institution, so they would be the one to render account. We fed 1,500 today. We fed 700 tomorrow. You understand? My father said, one killer came to him to say, no, I don't want any. You see, it is not anything but you weigh your options. You weigh your options, and then you think about the consequences. Some you don't even have to think about the consequences. I can't do this. This is a no for me. But then if you are confused, you weigh your options and rationally say, well, look at how they were disgraced and humiliated and jailed, life in public service. You have to, you see, it is all abuse of office. Look, central bank, they earn bigger than commercial banks. Don't earn anything near
central bank.
And then the access to facilities, so that they will not be tempted. One boy was employed in a bank many years back, and when you're employed, you'll be taking around all the departments. The manager told me that when he took the boy to the vault, where cash was kept, he said when they opened the vault, loaded with cash, he asked the boy, he said, what is it? The boy said, this is money, in a manner that portrayed
natural excitement, kind of. He had never seen anything that huge
I ask
before.
you, what is this? The boy said, this is money, in a way that portrayed a potential for thieving.
Okay.
The man said, this is not money. He said, this is not money. He said, no, this is money. He said, this is not money. This is a means of exchanging value. You are a banker. This is not money. The boy eventually stole money in the bank. And it was the mother that brought him to the bank, because the mother worked in the bank too, eventually damaging the mother's career.
Reputation.
So, you take your decisions. It is abuse of office. You see, you know the rules. Why do it? It is a personal decision. You understand? And when you have, I have a cousin who was in public space, and he messed up his fingers with. He never had peace of mind, because you would think you have a case in court. It could end up anywhere. The case in court can end up anywhere in this country. Even cases that Agbakoba said, that we should know the outcome. In Nigeria, you can never be sure of the outcome. You can end up anywhere. Now, what if he ended up in jail? But we have seen people go to jail in this country and return and do Thanksgiving.
Definitely. I don't want to
the former chairman of Post Authority went the Thanksgiving after his...
I don't want to mention the name.
I didn't mention the name. At the Thanksgiving. What kind of people are we? We have lost it. We have lost it. If you are in a position, I know somebody who was not even nominated to the Senate yet, but I remember the vice president came to this Ibadan, and he knew that the vice president had asked for nomination from a high-ranking member of the party, a former governor, and of course he handed over his nominee to the vice president to be given to the president to now formally nominated to nominate him. Of course, the man never eventually got nominated. But that Salah, the weeks that followed was Salah. People were already assembling in the man's house because they sure he was going to be nominated, and they were not bringing goats and sheep. They were bringing cows in anticipation. I know somebody who was nominated to the Senate and never got cleared, but he already got car gifts in anticipation. I mean, and you collect that? How can you collect it? That will tie your hand now.
You know, when you spoke about a gentleman who was released from prison and he had a Thanksgiving in church, I remember a top police officer too.
Want to mash up?
A top police officer, this is a recent one. I mean, a top police officer, well known, I don't want to mention his name, who was found wanting with, he got his famous name from his activities with the kidnappers, if you remember.
Oh yeah,
remember the man I'm talking about. When he was being released recently, and he had so many welcome back parties and pictures, videos, even on social media, which he posted, and people were celebrating it. Welcome back, to tell us how morale is being eroded in our country.
It will take a whole generation to turn this around. It's going to take a whole generation to turn this around. Not your generation, certainly, not mine. And even the generation after us, it is the generation behind them, not this generation.
All right, Comrade AYODEJI, our time is fast spent. It's about time for us to call it a day. Today we'll be back again, same time tomorrow morning for a fresh edition of AM Update, kicking off with the kick-off spot with Oladapo Konobi, the young striker now, and then we move into From the Daily segment where we get to do some analysis on the trending stories in some of the day's national dailies. My name is AYODEJI LAFENWA, and I did this with them.
I remain AYODEJI. AJISOPE do have a most fruitful day. God bless you all and bless our union.
All right, from all of us here, we're saying enjoy the rest of the day, wishing you a winning Wednesday. Good morning.
Let me ask you something. Don't be mad at me when you hear what I say about you and me making Nigeria